G'day guys, I'm D-Mac from NBA Fantasy Bible, and along with me is Kayla Fonte. Together we're Between Two Hoops. Kayla, how are you going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing really well. It is the end of week 3. What a week it's been. How did you go in your matchups?
I actually did a lot better, so I won the majority of my leagues, so I'll take it. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good in most of my leagues, I think. Contrary to last week where it was a little bit 50-50, I won a lot of my tight contests, which was good. Good to see. And I won a really tight one in my home league as well, which is my most important league of the 13 that I'm in this season. So very happy. But let's get into our first show for the week. That is our buy lows and sell highs. Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay. Starting with our buy lows. And what we'll do, guys, we'll just take you through one by one some of our choices for buy lows. This is not an all exhaustive list, but these are just some of our selections for this week. Starting with Paul George. Now, look at that 9-cat ranking, 139th. Points League, 83rd. This is courtesy of Hashtag Basketball, and the stats that we'll show as well for the buy lows is courtesy of Hashtag Basketball. So go check them out over at hashtagbasketball.com. But looking at Paul George's stats, yeah, a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, the thing is too, he only returned recently a couple of games ago. So obviously when you're returning from a long-term absence, you're not going to have amazing production right away, usually in most cases. So it's going to take a little while for him to ramp up, and managers who are a bit frustrated with that low production right away could be eager to get him off their team.
Absolutely, and perhaps just some of the discussions around him potentially sitting some of the back-to-backs or a leg of a back-to-back could really sway them into trading them. And so you have a great opportunity to strike and buying low. Those minutes, 28.3, that will, as you said, will ramp up nice and quickly. And Joel Embiid, and we'll talk about him in another episode, but he's set to return this week. So we'll see how that dynamic plays out. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey is still sidelined, but that shouldn't be a long-term sideline. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, definitely a buy low opportunity for Paul George. Next one, DAngelo Russell. Take us through that one, Kayla.
This one was a bit rough because he's one of my favorite players to roster. I think he's very underrated. But this season so far, I mean, he's moved to the bench, which has been really disappointing. And obviously that's going to have a significant impact in his value. Most of his numbers have been down from that as a result. But we really got to see if he'll enter the starting lineup at some point again. I think that he will, but just the uncertainty around it definitely hurts his value there.
Yeah, and we spoke about it last week that Austin Reeves has really taken a step forward this season. It has potentially hurt DAngelo Russell. Now, yesterday, Anthony Davis came out of the lineup with what appeared like an eye injury. I don't think it's going to be very serious, but again, he's getting another opinion today. So let's wait for some updates on that one. But any sort of time on the sidelines for AD will actually help DAngelo Russell as well. But even with AD still in the lineup, I still think looking at that field goal percentage, I think there's room for improvement there, even when everyone is healthy. Next one, Jimmy Butler. A lot of people were steering clear of him, but then a lot of people found some value in the middle rounds with Jimmy Butler. But those guys grabbing him in the middle rounds of drafts haven't been rewarded. That 9-cat ranking of 132 in courtesy of Hashtag Basketball again, and a points league ranking of 64. That's pretty poor for him.
Yeah, it's definitely rough. And if you look at the numbers in field goal, free throw, that's a big reason why there's that discrepancy in points leagues where efficiency doesn't matter as much. But you're still expecting a lot more out of someone like Jimmy Butler, especially a player of his caliber. So it's definitely disappointing. But this also ties into another player having increased value who was on our sell high list, who we'll talk about soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting to the next one, Fred VanVleet. He was on our list last week as one of our biggest buy lows, and he had a really much improved week, except for yesterday. He, and I say except for yesterday, had a really good line, but he shot the ball really poorly. And looking at that field goal percentage for the entire year, 37.6%, I don't think that's going to stick. And he's known for being a really poor field goal percentage guy, but not that low.
Yeah, I think that will definitely improve over time. But even if you look at the points, 13.2 per game. He's not a high scoring player, but that's still very low Usually he's about 18 to 20. So I expect that to rise at some point in the season as well. The assist numbers have also been a little bit lower. I think there was one game recently where he had only 2 assists, which is just wild. But at least the steals have been there.
He's not hitting his free throws as well, so
Mhm.
he's always been a really good free throw guy, but even yesterday, he missed both of his free throws. It's really uncharacteristic, and I think it'll come around, and, yeah, he's a really good player, so don't fret, buy low, and if you do happen to have him on your team already, yeah, make sure that you don't sell low because he will come back. Next guy here, Jaylen Brown. He came back from injury. He had a few games on the sidelines and he looked rusty. I think it's a really good opportunity to buy low on him.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to turn it around pretty quick. But I think it's just because he missed, I believe, like 3 or 4 games due to an injury. So obviously, he's taking a little bit to ramp up as well. But yeah, he did look a little rusty. I just don't expect it to stick for long. So I think it's a smaller buy low period.
It's actually nice to see his free throws in the green.
Hmm.
Usually it's under 80% for most of his career, but it's the field goals that's really hurt him right now. The points are still great, fantastic. You look at his points league ranking of 21, I think that's indicative that he's still getting the usage, he's still getting those shots up, but it's really the field goal percentage that's hurt him. Next one, Jalen Duran. He missed the last game. Ankle injuries again. So that's a little bit concerning, but I don't think this is going to be a long term injury. I would expect that he comes back pretty soon, potentially in the next game. But I think it's a buy low opportunity. 127th in 9-cat, 118th in points leagues. But it's really the free throws. And you don't usually think of a big man being really good at free throws, but he's always been solid. And so 57% for him is pretty poor, but it's usually the total rebounds as well. It's a little bit inconsistent, and he can have some monster games and he can have some quieter games.
Yeah, I think even offensively too. Obviously, he's not a 3-point shooter, so the threes doesn't really matter in this case. The free throw is very, very low. We don't expect that from him, even though he's not a big free throw guy. Even the points too, like he's at least a double threats. So to see it under 10 is a little bit discouraging. But the rebounds are looking okay. Like you said, they are inconsistent at times. But he could evolve into a double threat again, hopefully soon.
And there were a couple of games that he had just really low minutes as well,
Mhm.
played off the court. So I don't expect that to continue throughout the season. It's nice to see the blocks above one as well. For someone of his stature, I'd expect him to get more than one block a game, and it hasn't been that way so far in his career. And it's still a very young, burgeoning career. But 1.2 blocks is encouraging. But yeah, it's the points and it's the free throws where he can definitely turn it around. Next one, your boy Scotty Barnes, typically taken probably early to mid second round in most drafts in category leagues anyway, probably in points leagues as well. But look at that, 95th ranked in 9-cat. What do you put that down to?
I think a lot of it is just coming from the injury. I believe he's set to be out for about 3-ish weeks. So that return is coming. So that buy low window is going to be closing once he returns to the court and ramps up a little bit more. But I think the main thing is just the injury, especially with the amount of injuries that we've had this year. I think a lot of players are growing impatient and are more willing to trade away their injured guys. What do you think?
Yeah, and I've seen it. I've actually seen that enforced. Just, I think the plethora of injuries, people are really selling low because they just want plays on the court. They don't want those donuts. They don't want those zeros. And unfortunately, we don't have just a multitude of IRs or IL slots as well. So, yeah, I can see that. And that's why shows like this is really important because you may think typically in a vacuum, there's no chance I'd be able to get this guy for one of my end of roster guys. But yeah, managers, even though we're only 3 weeks in, managers are getting quite desperate. So keep an eye
Mhm.
out for that. And those that are a little bit trigger happy, potentially target those guys as well. Sounds mean, but that's a good way to get ahead in fantasy basketball.
Definitely.
Next one is Mikal Bridges. Now, not a high usage guy, we know that, but he started off the season poorly, and then he looked really solid, and he's sort of just taken a back seat to OG Anunoby on the wing. But of course, Cat and Brunson had a really big game last game, so Mikal Bridges hasn't had a lot to do.
Yeah, I was looking at his stats for last week, and most of his numbers are down compared to his season averages. But I mean, if you look at the Knicks, they're a very stacked starting lineup. And we knew when he was traded to New York that something like this was going to happen. I didn't expect him to be ranked this low at this point. I think he could still maybe crack top 80, top 75 ish. So buy low period.
I think so. It's not a massive buy low. He's just one of these sort of mid guys. I actually have him in one of my leagues. Not sure why I did that. I think I was just going for more an efficiency play, but an efficiency guy who's got a free throw percentage at the moment of 49.4%. Yes, it's on very, very low volume, but still you'd expect that to be above 80 for the ilk of Mikal Bridges. Next one, Jamal Murray. It's that field goal percentage that's really hurt him. He's looked a lot better than obviously he did for your country during the Olympics, but there's still a lot of room for improvement here.
Yeah, even if you look at the blocks numbers too, he's not a high blocks guy, but he can still provide you with a couple. I believe he averaged about half of one last season, so that's a little bit disappointing to see. But yeah, the field goal percentage has just been burning managers. I mean, look at that; it's bright red.
Yeah, and I think he can increase those points as well. I know Michael Porter Jr. has definitely stepped up in terms of point scoring and just around or across the board value. And I think Jamal Murray has taken a sort of a back seat there. He missed with concussion as well, so there'd still be maybe some lingering effects there. So I think there is a great opportunity to go and grab him.
Even the assists as well. Like usually we expect about 6-ish from him, not 4.9, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, 4.9 is low for his standards. And he's not a high assist guy, obviously, with Nikola Jokic on the team. But yeah, you'd expect more assists for Jamal Murray. Larry Markkinen. Now, this one is particularly interesting, and I think it's a very good roto play. Maybe not so much in head-to-head, just because we're always aware and mindful of the fact that the Jazz are playing silly buggers at the moment. They're tanking hard for Cooper Flag. So they have no real incentive to play a lot of Larry Markkinen. They're not going to run him into the ground. He can't be traded, so it's not like he's going to get to a better situation this season. So just be mindful here. As I said, great games cap roto play if you can buy low on him. But even in a head-to-head, if you can get him for a dirt cheap price, and that's sort of looking at that 9-cat ranking, 121st right now, absolutely try to acquire him.
Oh, for sure. Especially when a lot of managers were drafting him in like the third round. It's definitely disappointing to see. The efficiency just hasn't been there, but not from the line. The line, he's actually been pretty efficient. It's also surprising to see that his assists aren't red. He's a very poor playmaker. The blocks also not there. But I think there's also going to be a lot of other buy low opportunities for Marketing whenever he deals with injuries or as we get closer to the final stretch of the season. But if you want to get him right now, he is a good roto player for sure.
Absolutely. And for his standards, that field goal percentage is really poor. So, yeah, again, huge room for improvement for Larry Markkinen. Next one here, Alperen Sengun. Looking at that points league ranking of 28, I think that's dead on. I think he's playing as expected. Some of his minutes are a little bit low and it is a little bit inconsistent. And you get that with the Rockets for a team that has a lot of talent. They can mix and match. 28.4 minutes per game is really low for someone of his talent. Do you expect to see that go up? And also, do you expect to see his field goal percentage go back up?
I think the minutes will definitely go up for sure, especially a player of his caliber. The field goal percentage, yeah, that's pretty low, especially for him or a center as well. So I think that can definitely go up. And it's the efficiency as well that we've mentioned repeatedly that causes that discrepancy in the points leagues and 9-cat rankings. Yeah, for points, he's definitely much more valuable where the efficiency doesn't matter as much. And same with turnovers as well, because he is providing solid value in the main cats, but we're still expecting obviously a little bit more from this mini Jokic.
Yeah, and you expect that free throw percentage to be in the sort of reddish sort of color, but that field goal percentage, I'd expect that to be above 50% for him. So I think he can get back to where he was, but also I'd like to see those minutes push up as well, and I think that can happen. Last one, Trey Young. You'd be sort of surprised that he's on this list, but he did have one game where he shot the ball horribly and 39%. And yes, we know that Trey Young sort of chucks them up and he's not going to be a 50% field goal guy ever in his career. But 39% is even low for his standards. And I think one of those games he shot terribly. So that could be skewing some of these numbers as well. But 39% for his standards is quite low.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the stats here. For last week, his field goal percentage was 34.7%, and that's with 18.5 points per game. So not even over 20. And even the points right now, 23.9, we expect a little bit more, especially now that DeJounte Murray is gone. So that's a little bit surprising there. The rebounds are also kind of surprising. They're a little bit higher than I thought they would be. But also look at the turnovers. 4.5. I believe last year he averaged a little over 4 as well, but that's still going to kill you in that category. But if you're punting that, then it doesn't really matter as much.
Yeah, I'm one to, I won't say fully disregard it, but yeah, I definitely lessen the weighting there for
Mm.
turnovers. But yeah, that field goal percentage is killing you at the moment. I actually have him in one of my teams where I am punting field goals and punting turnovers. So not too much of a concern, but because the field goal percentage is a little bit lower, then the points is impacted as well. So again, I expect the field goals to go up, and then I should see the points to go up. Those assists are beautiful right now. And yeah, they've come up since DeJounte Murray is no longer with the Hawks. So that's great to see. But definitely a buy low, a mini buy low for Trey Young right now. Next, we get to our sell highs. Now, we're not going to go one by one like we did with the buy lows, but we're just going to highlight a few of these guys. But starting at the top with the King, LeBron James, NICAT ranking of 12th, points league ranking of 7th. Sell high?
I think so. When I was looking at the averages for the season, I think he was definitely top 5 on hashtag basketball the last time that I checked before Sunday's games. But also when you look at his stats for last week, he was averaging a near triple double. So that's just nuts. And obviously, there's still a lot of injury concerns there. So I think that while he's healthy and he's producing this amazing value, it's a perfect time to capitalize on it.
Yeah, he turns 40 next month. I know that because I turn 40 next month as well. So he's in a lot better shape than I am. Sell high, potentially for LeBron in 9-cat points league. Yeah, also a sell high. So yeah, he's just playing remarkably well for a almost 40-year-old. Darius Garland, now he's had a tremendous season so far.
This one is a surprising one for me because I'm not a big fan of Darius Garland, but when I was looking at the numbers, his efficiency was fairly high for last week. I think it was in the 60s. Obviously, that's not sustainable, which is what makes him a big sell high. But I would never even think that he would crack top 20 value. It's baffling to me, but I mean, because he's a little bit inconsistent. But yeah, he's really stepped up his game. Even the assists have been great too.
Yeah, the assist, we expect that from Darius
Mm.
Garland, but yeah, it's the unsustainable field goal percentage that I think that can come down. So definitely a sell high opportunity right now. Jordan Poole, he was on this list last week. His week 3 wasn't as impressive as his first 2 weeks, but he's still a sell high in my eyes. And we saw it in a couple of games. Just he wasn't getting the rub of the green. Things weren't going his way, and he got benched at various times. That was a little bit surprising for someone who should have such a high usage. He did get benched. He did recover in the last game to have a respectful line, but I think there is that chance that when things don't go well for the Washington Wizards, that he may be the whipping boy again.
I have a feeling that's the case too, especially with the plethora of young guys and young talent that they have on this team, and their goal of further developing them. I think Poole could potentially see a little bit more of a bench role at times down the stretch.
Yeah, look, he's still playing well. I've still got him on a couple of teams as well, so I'm happy to have him. But yeah, definitely still a sell high, just based on the hot start that he had in the first 2 weeks of the season. Norman Powell, now he's still going strong, and I can't see that changing anytime soon unless there is a trade for the Clippers.
Yeah, and he's been looking fantastic. Obviously Kawhi Leonard is out, so I think as long as he's out, he's going to be a sell high.
I think so, and still the timeline for Kawhi Leonard's return is still a little bit unclear. So I think there's still going to be a lot of value for Norman Powell. Of course, James Harden is playing very well at the moment as well. So keep an eye out for Norman Powell. But if you can sell high, I would do so, and you may be losing some fantastic value up until Kawhi comes back. But I think now's the time. If you can get yourself a top 50 guy, I would make that move. Tyler Hero, 38th in 9-cat, 48th in points league. Is a little bit of this got to do with Jimmy Butler's sort of diminished role that we spoke about
I think
earlier.
definitely. I think he's the next guy who kind of has to step up. But even looking at his stats here, like it's the efficiency for one thing that's been really surprising. 53.6% field goal last week, which is a lot higher than his 44% last year. Even if you look at his numbers too, 26.3 points per game. That's very high for someone like him. And I think it's just a lot of that is coming from, like you said, Jimmy Butler, his diminished role.
Yeah, I still think it is a sell high, but Tyler Hero
Mhm.
is really flourishing this season. Michael Porter Jr., we spoke about him when we were talking about Jamal Murray, but yeah, Porter Jr. has looked really good. But 33rd in 9-cat, 53rd in points league. We saw it a few seasons ago that Michael Porter was probably a second, maybe a third round guy in categories. Is this another season of that, or is this a sell high opportunity?
I think it's more of a sell high. I think he's going to come back down to earth in a couple of weeks. Even when you're looking at his numbers too, I think he was averaging about 4 threes per game, which is very high even for someone like him. I expect some of the numbers to come down, especially because there are injuries that the Nuggets are dealing with right now. Aaron Gordon is out. Jamal Murray was sidelined for a couple of games due to concussion protocols. So there's also those kind of factors as well.
Of course, Michael Porter Jr. is going to get a lot of open looks just playing with Jokic as well. So that's always nice to have someone as talented to give you the ball. But yeah, I don't think that he'll shoot it at as high a clip moving forward, but very, very solid player this season. Now, someone who's an absolute sell high, and this cannot sustain, but it's Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah, the numbers have been fantastic, but I think he's also a sell high just because of the uncertainty with the Bulls and the potential trades looming over his head.
Yeah, it's funny. You could look at it one way and say it's a sell high, but is it maybe even a buy low? If you can convince someone that has Vucevic on their team to say, look, he's always going to be in trade rumors. He's going to get traded. Maybe he's going to be a bench guy. Maybe he sits down the stretch. Maybe you could actually buy low. So it's one of those that could
It could
go
go
either
both
way,
ways.
to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah, bit of a coin toss. So if you've got him, maybe you hold on to him and just ride it out. And if you don't have him, maybe it's just one of those situations where, you know what, hats off for him playing really well right now, but maybe you don't buy low on him, or maybe, yeah, maybe you just hold on to him if you do have him. But yeah, it's one of those tricky situations. OG Anunoby, we spoke about Mikal Bridges earlier. It seems like OG is really taken to the Knicks, that environment, playing really well offensively. And of course, we know of his defensive nous. But yeah, playing well on both sides of the court.
Yeah, his points have increased too to 18.8 last week averages. And most notable too is his free throw percentage, 86.7% last week. And usually he's about like a 75-ish give or take shooter. So that's been nice to see.
Yeah, and I think it is a sell high because it's not very often that we go through an entire season that OG doesn't have a significant chunk of time on the sidelines as well. So maybe it's just a matter of time that he is sidelined. But again, you can't predict these things. But just based on history, I would expect that he does miss some time as well. But playing really well. Again, hats off to OG, but definite sell high opportunity.
Especially with how the season's been going with all the injuries. Like, I would not be surprised at all. It's been nuts.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I sent out a little tweet. It was just meant to be a little joke, but it seemed to be resonating
It
with a
blew
lot of
up.
people. Just a lot of pain and angst whenever you read a Shams tweet going, just another one of my guys that's out injured. A lot of people resonated with that one
Oh, yeah.
for good reason, because there's so many injuries right now. Next one of my guys, Bilal Coulibaly. He has played really well, but it's the efficiency that I think isn't sustainable, hence why he's on this sell high list.
Yeah, I think the same thing. As the season goes on, it'll probably decline quite a bit. I believe at one point he was shooting about 60% from the field. I think that's going to be closer to about 50%, maybe like high 40s. So yeah, I
Mm.
don't think that's sustainable.
Which is still fantastic, but
Yeah.
definitely it has an impact on his overall point scoring ability. And then, of course, Kyle Kuzma needs to return to that lineup as well, and that'll take away some of that usage. So bear that in mind. Definite sell high. Kuzma, we'll get into it on our injury show a little bit later on, but Kuzma is not very close, but only a few weeks away, I would say. So Bilal has a little bit more time just to really flourish there. But yeah, sell high opportunity, in my opinion. Dennis Schroeder, I think he's been on our list for the last 2 weeks. He's still a sell high,
Mhm.
just again with that uncertainty with the Nets moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's looked fantastic and a little bit unexpected. I did not expect a ranking this high, but then again, like you said, there are those times down the stretch where he could see fewer minutes as they go full tank mode.
His teammate, Cam Johnson, as well, just shooting the lights out, putting up over 3 threes a game,
Mhm.
shooting really well, good percentages, just really nice efficiency from Cam Johnson.
Yeah, the efficiency has been fantastic. Almost 60% last week, 87.5% from the free throw line, and averaging over 20.3 points. So that's pretty impressive considering last year he only had 13.4.
And his ADP was probably close to 120 from
Yeah.
recollection. So you're getting fantastic value. So if you can sell him for a top 50, yeah, you do that immediately. It's probably unlikely that you can do that, but let's see if you can negotiate your way to a top 50 guy. John Collins, again, this one's around uncertainty. He's always been a favorite of mine just because he's an efficient big guy, doesn't hurt you anywhere. 57th and 9-cat's really good. I just don't think that moving forward that the Jazz are going to play a lot of minutes, particularly down the stretch.
Yeah, I think so too, and especially with the front court, how the minutes have been fluctuating with other guys as well. But with John Collins, last week his efficiency was fantastic, 62.9% field goal percentage, and perfect from the free throw line, which really helped his value. Couple of threes, good points, good rebounds, of course, which is what you expect from him.
Yeah, Taylor Hendricks being out for the season definitely helps.
Mhm.
But like you said, I think they will turn to a bit more youth down the stretch. So sell high on John Collins. Caris LeVert is really making the most of a couple of injuries for the Cavs. I know that Max Strus is still out, so Caris LeVert's taken more of an offensive load.
Yeah, and he's fairly versatile as well, which really helps his value.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. The tables have turned. So 60th in 9-cat and 103rd in points league. That's almost
Mhm.
unfathomable for him. I'm used to seeing it reversed. So yeah, fantastic efficiency from Caris LeVert this season. Peyton Pritchard, 62nd in 9-cat, but 125th. Look at that discrepancy. 125th in
Mhm.
points league. Put that down to obviously efficiency, but just all of those threes as well. He's just a threes monster.
Yeah, and now's the time to sell high, especially with Porzingis still out. I believe he's returning sometime, possibly in December.
Possibly in December. Again, it's going to take him a while to ramp up. Peyton
Mhm.
Pritchard, we knew that he would be a fantastic fill-in for the likes of Al Horford when Al Horford would miss one leg of a back-to-back. Obviously, with Porzingis, we thought that he would have more of an uh, offensive game to it as well, but I didn't think it would be this good. So
Mhm.
definite sell high because you can see at moments and at times in games that he can be a little bit one-dimensional. He doesn't rack up the amazing defensive stats that you'd like, but the shooting is just fantastic. So yeah, sell high. And we're going to deep dive on Benedict Mathurin, but 88th in 9-cat and 89th in points. And let's just do a little bit more of a deep dive on Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's been
Yeah,
fantastic.
so
I mean,
he's
part of
been
that has been
fantastic.
just due to all the injuries, but he's really stepped up, which is great to see, especially last season with his role and his minutes fluctuating.
Yeah.
It's nice to see him providing that consistent value when the Pacers need him to step up.
But look at that value in the last 7 days. 17th in 9-cat in the last 7 days. That's unbelievable. 30, almost 36 minutes per game just in the last week. And like you said, that's down to some injuries. You've got Nempard. You've
Mhm.
got who else?
Naismith
Nempard,
as well.
Naismith as well.
Um,
Obi Toppin missed the last game.
yep,
And of course, the centers are out. Not a
yep.
direct correlation, but again, there's just more playing time for him as well. Isaiah Jackson out. Um, yeah, so yeah,
Wiseman as
he's
well. Yeah,
and James
there's
Wiseman
so
as well.
many. You
So
can't even
he's
keep track of them
there's
all. It's
so
nuts.
many, yeah. But he's just shooting the lights out as well. Just his efficiency in the last, well, all season, but particularly in the last 7 days, has just been out of this world.
And an added bonus is that he's Canadian.
There you go. But just because he's Canadian doesn't mean that this is going to stick. And I highly doubt that
Yep.
it will stick, particularly when all these guys do return from injury. But shooting at 57.4% from the field, 82 from the line, that's not unfathomable. You look at the past seasons as well, pretty much the same as last season. But 57.4 from the field is really unbelievable. But yeah, it's just the points, it's the minutes, it's the threes, it's across the board that he's really improved. So huge sell high on Benedict Mathurin.
Yep.
Now that's it for our buy lows and sell highs. Any last words, Kayla?
Yeah, we got 2 more shows coming your way. We're going to talk about injuries in the schedule and also about ads, drops, holds, and streamers. So make sure to check those out.
Absolutely. You know where to find us. Obviously on Twitter, I'm at NBA Fantasy Bible and Kayla is at Kayla_Fonte. Make sure you follow us on all of our platforms, like and subscribe on YouTube as well. But make sure that you do listen out and watch out for our other episodes today. But until next time, Kayla, thank you very much, guys. See you
Thank
later.
you.
Bye.